Is Marvel Studios down so bad that they need a reboot? Believe it or not, that's what some insiders are saying is actually going to happen. And I honestly kind of can't believe it, but it appears to be real. So holy crap, is this a big freaking deal? We got a lot of stuff to unpack in this video. We're kind of in uncharted waters here, so let's break it down. And I also want to say right at the top here, guys, I am so damn excited to talk about my comic book, Unity, which I've been working on for years, and it's finally launching its Kickstarter. We need your help to create this book, to bring this new IP to life. And I'll talk more about my comic at the end of this video, but it's a really fresh and cool take on the superhero genre, and I think at a time when Marvel and DC and a lot of corporate controlled media is kind of letting us down, we need freshness, we need newness, and we need it coming from independent creators. But okay, so let's talk about the reboot. What the hell's going on? Well, this popped up a couple of days ago from Can We Get Some Toast, who is a very reliable insider. They say here, the writing's on the wall. Avengers Secret Wars is very likely setting up a soft reboot to the entire MCU, kind of like what The Flash did for the DCU. It'll be a send-off for not only the entirety of the Fox verse, but the MCU that we've all grown to love. In the aftermath will be all new, all different MCU. And man, that's a topsy-turvy roller coaster ride of a report, and I don't really know how to feel. So I guess it might be best to start with what even is a soft reboot. What is Toast talking about referring to The Flash? Well, a soft reboot is basically like a big retcon. You can keep some of the continuity that you've established, characters, story, etc., but some of it is changed and retroactively becomes the new continuity. That's what retcon means. And so in the case of The Flash, I believe Toast is referring to the original plan for The Flash, not the new one, because now The Flash is completely meaningless to the DCU, at least as far as I understand it. But before James Gunn came on board, The Flash was going to reset or retcon the DCEU. Basically, Barry was going to go into the past or the future and do a bunch of time-traveling Flashpoint shenanigans, and then when he returned to his home universe, things would be different. The universe would be changed. You would see familiar faces like Jason Momoa's Aquaman and Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman, but instead of having Ben Affleck as Batman and Henry Cavill as Superman, you were going to have Michael Keaton as a much older Bruce Wayne / Batman, and you were essentially going to have Sasha Calle as the Superman / Supergirl of that new universe. And this did happen in DC Comics with the Flashpoint event. It changed a lot of different things in the universe. And Marvel Comics has also had soft reboots and sort of retcons and resets to their continuity throughout their history of comics. So before we go any further, I just want to know, like, what do you guys think of that? Do you think this would be a good idea or a bad idea for the MCU? And I suppose the next logical question is, like, why would Marvel do this? Why would they choose to retroactively change the continuity and to use Secret Wars to reboot? Well, in a lot of ways, Secret Wars is the perfect opportunity to do this. We are facing a multiversal war, and it appears that they will be adapting a lot of Jonathan Hickman's Secret Wars, which essentially sees the entirety of the multiverse destroyed except for Battleworld. And then the way that story concludes is with Reed Richards getting the powers of the Beyonder, and with his reality warping son, Franklin Richards, he recreates each and every reality and basically rebuilds the multiverse. But in Marvel Comics, when that happened, things were changed. There was no more Ultimates universe out there, and instead Miles Morales was put into the 616 main universe continuity. That allowed Miles Morales and Peter Parker to both be alive at the same time. Dr. Doom of Earth 616 was also changed post-Secret Wars, and he seemed to have some memory of what happened on Battleworld and decided to become a hero. The Avengers were totally different and even caused a second civil war, which saw Captain Marvel versus Tony Stark this time and led to the death of Captain Marvel and took out a lot of the other Avengers as well. But now I want to talk about some older established rumors that might help us better understand what Marvel's actually planning here. Over a year ago, Heavy Spoilers put out a big video talking about everything he knew about Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars. And in that video, Paul talks about how there were plans to consolidate all of the Marvel universes in the post-Secret Wars MCU. He talked about potential Fox characters becoming a part of the main 616 continuity, and he also talked about Sony characters like Tom Hardy's Venom coming into the MCU and just having one universe for all of of these different actors. Now, I also remember around that same time, Grace Randolph was reporting that she had heard some of the Fox X-Men could be brought into the 616 MCU and be the X-Men for Feige's MCU. And I'm pretty sure Grace was talking about how that was just one idea that was on the table for Marvel back then, but it sort of shows that Marvel's been considering this for some time, and I think they've been eyeing Avengers Secret Wars as a potential reboot or soft reboot point. And there are basically two ways this could go down. The first way would be something like a consolidation, taking the actors that still wanted to play their comic book roles and putting them all into a singular continuity. And I think the way this would work is basically keeping all of the canon from Marvel's 616 so far, like the entirety of the Infinity Saga, phases 4, leading into phase 5 maybe, and essentially maybe the destruction of Earth 616 and all the craziness that's going to happen right before Secret Wars, that would all be erased. All of that stuff would not exist in the canon. And I believe in this scenario, you'd bring characters back like Chris Evans' Captain America, like Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man. Maybe you'd even have Hugh Jackman as Wolverine in that main continuity. You could have Tom Hardy play Eddie Brock, but he's a new version of Eddie Brock, like more comic accurate for the sake of Marvel. And I think that wouldn't be so bad. Like, that would be kind of cool. A consolidated universe. You don't change a lot of the canon. You just sort of bring everybody back together, and via Secret Wars, you sort of, you know, wave your magic comic book wand and make everything make sense. But it's also possible that the MCU that we know would be completely destroyed along with the rest of the multiverse, and this new, softly rebooted MCU would be establishing its own and new canon. So there'd be no Battle of New York, there'd be no Eternals and the Celestials coming, there'd be no Civil War, there'd be no Thanos attacking Earth, no Wakandan stronghold standing up to Thanos in Infinity War. There'd be no snap, there'd be no blip. It would be like a completely new canon. And this could be interesting for Marvel. It would allow them to perhaps bring in new actors to play Tony Stark, new actors to play Captain America, perhaps the opportunity to establish the X-Men right alongside these other characters, which is something that Marvel doesn't seem to have an answer for. Like, at this point, Feige's developing the Fox X-Men and going back to stuff from old franchises, but he hasn't really established the X-Men at all in the MCU. He hasn't established Doctor Doom, Magneto, like any of these awesome characters. They don't really all exist in the MCU. And so maybe what they're trying to do is reset everything and sort of retell the first chapters of the MCU with access to all the different characters, like the X-Men, the Fantastic Four, Doctor Doom, Galactus, the Avengers. It goes on and on and on. And they could explain this via Secret Wars and the destruction of the cosmos. Because in Marvel Comics, there are multiple versions of the cosmos, and they always end, and then they always come back. And Marvel's dealing with some really big freaking ideas with Kang Dynasty, Secret Wars, Battle World, all of that kind of stuff. So it's very possible we might see the end of this version of the cosmos and then do a soft reboot with barely anybody that we recognize from the old MCU. And I honestly don't love that. Like, I prefer the first version, like bring everybody back, consolidate everything together, but I could see the appeal for actually just rebooting it all and reestablishing the MCU with the X-Men, Fantastic Four, and Avengers all existing at once. But the truth is, guys, as cool as these possibilities are and as interesting as they are to consider, this will not solve Marvel's biggest problem. I absolutely think that their continuity and the way they want to tie everything together is sort of weighing down the MCU. It's really weird, right? I mean, Shang-Chi is maybe one of the best Phase 4 movies. We won't see him again for like 6 or 7 years after that. And we're being flooded with content about characters that are not as interesting and that we don't care as much about. Now, Marvel's trying to address that blow. They're canceling projects. I think they might even be canceling plans they have with the Scarlet Witch and focusing on Doctor Strange instead. But at the end of the day, the big problem here is that the Marvel Cinematic Universe no longer feels character driven, and it doesn't feel like something that we can follow easily. I think a total reboot could actually fix some of those problems, but I think a soft reboot sort of threatens to compound these issues, make them even more complicated, and make audiences even more confused. So what Marvel really needs to do is get some incredible characters in these main stories and have the story of the MCU follow a group of characters we really love that are defined, having flaws, and having good things about them. And they need to carry that story through the multiverse saga into the next few Avengers movies. If they don't do that, I think the point is moot. I don't think the reboot solves any of the problems, and I think you will have lost a lot of goodwill with the audience. And speaking of that, let me just talk about my comic book real quick. I have the link in the description. If you're interested in checking out, we could really use your help. This is a very ambitious goal. The comic is basically a post-apocalyptic superhero story about an organization known as the Unity Corps that polices the entire world after a war with superheroes almost destroys humanity. Here's a little teaser trailer that explains what the comic's about.
I was there when it happened. Golden light beamed down from the sky, giving humanity a great gift. Suddenly, the world had superheroes. 6 months later, we had war. After just a few weeks, it became clear no one would win this war. The gifted would destroy the world. And so, the world leaders met and devised a plan. The Unity Corps was formed, and all gifted were forced to turn themselves in. But there was resistance, and that resistance looked like it might just destroy what was left of humanity. Then another golden miracle occurred. Midas, he called himself, an artificial being from another world. He said he was here to help, and help he did. All gifted were either imprisoned or recruited into the Unity Corps. Control was re-established and humanity was saved. It's been 30 years since the end of the war, and there has been peace. Until now.
Now, this is a really ambitious goal. We're going for $50,000 to create a 100+ page graphic novel that has this story I've been working on for years put out in these really cool chapters. And at a time when all this corporate controlled media is feeling really lame and feels restricted and there's no like love and magic in it, I really do believe it's time for creators and independent thinkers to step up to the plate and offer their own version of the superhero story. So if that sounds cool, check out our Kickstarter today. We could really use your support. Smash a like on the video if you liked it. I'd love to know what you think about the reboot concept in the comment section below. And I'm going to be doing a lot of live streams this week, and I'm sure we're going to be talking about this. So come hang out over there. As I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and a nerdy day, and I'll see you in the next video.